There are some terrible things happening in the world right now. And I think it is a scary place for a lot of people. But I am reading the work of J.R.R. Tolkien right now, and I think there is one line in this book that I just recently read that is so incredible. And it really shows how well J.R.R. Tolkien is of writing good dialogue. And more than just being a good writer, because I think he's one of the best writers that I've ever encountered, I think he's more like a prophet. Because some of the things in this book, they just have so much applicable meaning to things going on in the world and things going on in life today, even though he wrote this some 50, 60, 70 years ago. And so whenever I am reading these lines, they just seem to have direct correlation to things that are going on in my own life personally and just in things going on in the world. And there's one section that I just encountered that is Theoden just finishing the Battle of Helm's Deep. And he's in a conversation with Eomer. And Eomer is his nephew. And Eomer is essentially saying, you should stay behind and live. Even if we go to this war, and if we win or we lose. He's commanding and telling Theoden that he should stay behind and save himself because he's old and he's already fought these battles. And I just want to read 2 paragraphs of this because I think it's just so good for their conversation and for what Theoden's final response is. So remember, he just finished the Battle of Helm's Deep. And they had just won that, but they had lost a lot of men. And this is what they say. This journey is over, maybe, said Theoden, but I have far yet to go. Last night the moon was full, and in the morning I shall ride to Edoras, to the gathering of the mark. But if you would take my counsel, said Eomer in a low voice, you would not then return hither until the war is over, lost or won. Theoden smiled, and I love that he smiles there, because he already knows what his response is going to be. And he probably finds it endearing that Eomer wants to save his life. But at the same point, I love that Theoden smiles in the face of danger right here. He says, nay, my son, for so I will call you. Speak not the soft words of worm tongue in my ears. He drew himself up and looked back at the long line of his men fading into dusk behind. Long years in the space of days it seems since I rode west, but never will I lean on a staff again. If the war is lost, and this is where it gets really good, what good will my hiding in the hills? And if it is won, what grief will it be, even if I fall, spending my last strength? But we will leave this now. Tonight I will lie in the hold of Dunharrow. One evening of peace, at least, is left us. Let us ride on. I think this is so brave and courageous. Theoden deserves to just go rest for the rest of his life and live out the rest of his life in peace in Edoras. But he knows that this is no consolation because he knows this evil is coming and it's closer and closer to Rohan. And it's literally coming too because in this chapter the clouds are ascending over Helm's Deep and over Edoras, and it's the stretching out of Mordor's evil, and it really is signifying that there is a loss of hope. Each of the first 3 chapters in the Return of the King, ends and it says that there really is no dawn, that hope seems to be fading. And this is one of those sections where in the face of a hopeless world, in the face of the hopeless Middle Earth that Theoden sees, he still marches to battle nonetheless. Even though he could spend the rest of his time out relaxing, living in peace, spending the last of his days with what he has, he chooses not to do that, and he chooses to keep fighting. And I think his bravery and courage here is one of my favorite responses in this whole book. Now, a lot of characters are incredibly brave and courageous. I think Merry in this chapter is incredibly brave. I think Pippin, I think all the hobbits are really brave and courageous. I think Gimli is. I think Galadriel is very brave and very courageous. But this one line of Theoden just feels so applicable to things that are going on today. When I think a lot of us have this tendency to run into the hills and to hide after terrible things happen. But I think we should take an example from Theoden. And I love this line that he has here. If the war is lost, what good will my hiding in the hills? And if it is won, what grief will it be, even if I fall, spending my last strength? I think this is the idea of going out strong, of living every single day like it's our last, and making sure every single moment in our life counts, and continually fighting, even in the face of misery, even in the face of a hopeless time. What Theoden is doing here is the encapsulation of hope, because it's not just some naive dream and naive wish for something that's going to come to happen. Hope is this steadfastness that Theoden has. And I find it so inspiring, and I find the words of J.R.R. Tolkien such a balm in times like these.